Inspector General of Police David Asante-Pietu has revealed the service is pursuing a robust transformation of it to make it one of the best 10 in the world and a leading one in Africa by 2020. Speaking at the opening ceremony of a 4-day strategic communications workshop for police public affairs officers, the IGP says it is critical to build the capacity of personnel at the Public Affairs Department as effective communication is a means to reach out to the public. He charged the officers to live up to expectation.
My advice for the personnel of the Public Affairs Department is that they must be very tenacious in doing their job. If you have your information disseminated to the public, very little will be left for others to mislead the public. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the expectation of the service that our communicators will be technologically up to date, professionally agile, and socially conscious in performing their duties. My hope, therefore, for this workshop is that our public affairs communications officers will adopt innovative communication strategies in line with international best practices for effective communication for the police service. It is the expectation of the administration that at the end of this 4-day workshop, participants will come out with strategies and recommendations to rebrand the service to make it a service with true integrity. I also expect participants to come out with approaches of best practice to achieve the vision of the service.
Director General of the Public Affairs Department, ACP David Eklu, says the workshop is to equip communication officers both at the national, regional and unit levels with cutting-edge modern communication skills in line with international best practices.
It is a known fact that effective communication is undoubtedly one of the best ways that organizations can use to maintain and sustain useful relations between them and their stakeholders, both internal and external. This 4-day workshop is therefore aimed at boosting the morale of our officers, especially in the area of public speaking, writing skills, reputation management, and crisis communications in policing. The 14 participants drawn from these headquarters and the regions will be taken through practical strategic communication skills, including field exercises, teamwork, public speaking, planning, peer-to-peer learning, multimedia communication techniques, as well as reputation management in support of the IGP's as well as the police administration's vision to transform our service into a world-class one.
The police military team deployed to clamp down on illegal mining activity says it has arrested 26 miners who defied the ban on small-scale mining in the eastern region. According to the Operation Vanguard Task Force, the suspects were arrested between August 3 and 5, 2017 during its patrol of some mining sites in the region, one of 4 they have been deployed to. Deputy Regional Public Relations Officer of the Eastern Region Police Command, Inspector Gideon Boateng, joins me on the telephone with details. Good evening to you, sir. Now, under what circumstances were the 26 suspects arrested?
Good evening, sir. The Operation Vanguard Task Force team were on their normal routine patrols, and they have so far arrested 26 people for operating illegally from the date of 3rd and then to the date of 5th of this month. The first day, on the 3rd, they arrested one man called Asante Benson, a 38-year-old man who was operating at a town near Osino called Samai. And he is on Royal Pier on the 18th of this month. The remaining 25 are also in police custody due to the court which has not sat on them on their case, and therefore they are still in the police custody. The first person was arrested on the 3rd, 19 of them were arrested at a town called Insutem. Now, in near Insutem in Ebush on the 4th. And on the 5th, 6 people were also arrested at a town called Ankasi near Enyinam. Their ages is between 18 to 60.
All right.
And the exhibits that they were using or the implements to which transform machines, excavators, shovels, pickers, hard metals, among other implements have been seized, and the police stand for evidential purpose.
Now,
on this note, the Eastern Regional Police Commander, ACP Mr. George Alex Mesa, is warning those people who are engaging themselves in the act of illegal operations or else this court will be sent to face the law court for action.
All right. Now, has the team encountered any resistance yet from the illegal miners? Because we're told in other areas the Operation Vanguard Task Force has encountered some resistance. Do we have any such resistance in the Eastern region?
You know, everybody is afraid of being arrested. When you are arrested, implies your right is no more yours. So, in any way, such incidents or such incidents must be encountered. For instance, the first person when he was being arrested, they were about 6, and the others were able to maneuver and find their way out. Only that person was arrested. There must be another. I won't say it is easy, but then as the saying goes in account that the task force will still be in their position to chase them until the time that they will be tired and stop. Otherwise, if they are not tired, the task force will also not get tired.
All right, but at least from the indication you're giving us, there wasn't any fierce exchange of gunfire as has happened elsewhere.
Oh, not yet. They are used tactically. You know, before the gun must sound, imply something else as okay. But they are on their foot, and they are doing the job to the expectation of the public.
Right.
Therefore, they are still working as well.
Inspector Gideon Boateng, before you go, what has become of the working tools and machines of the miners you arrested?
Pardon, please.
What has become of the machines and tools of the miners you arrested?
We found some farm machines, excavators, shovels, pickers, among other implements, hard metals, the tools that they use to operate during their mining. And therefore, those items are, as I said earlier on, with the police for evidential purpose. All
right. Thank you very much, Gideon. Inspector Gideon Boateng is the Deputy Eastern Region Police PRO. Now, at Ayimedu Krom near Obuasi, where one person was killed by the task force, the residents are protesting the circumstances under which the man said to be an illegal miner was killed. Prince Apia joins me with the latest on that. Good evening. Thank you, Prince. So, bring us up to speed with what actually happened at Ayimedu Krom, where we're told that one person was killed by the Operation Vanguard Task Force.
Okay, Israel, the community, as you rightly said, is Ayimedu Krom near Obuasi, and this community is close to the Obuasi waterworks, and it has a very big gutter close by. So, in this community, for time immemorial, they get gold from this water that passes through the drain. And every morning, I'm told by the community members that you can even sweep on the ground and gather the dust and wash it, and you get gold. So that is what the community there do, the members there do. Oh. And if you visit the community, you will not see any dugout around that indicates that Galamsey activities go there.
All right, just out of curiosity, Prince, did you see any such gold nuggets on the floor?
Yeah, truthfully, I saw some of the dust that they have gathered. and they told me I can't tell if it's gold or not, but they told me that they spot gold in that.
All right.
And yeah.
So the story we're getting from the Operation Vanguard Task Force is that they encountered, gunfire, and they had to return the gunfire, and in the process, they killed that gentleman. We've been told, but it turns out that the residents have a different story.
Yeah, sure, they have a different story. What they told me is that yesterday, after their normal business of gathering the dust and washing it to get some money from, they were seated at one of the canopies they call the Parliament House. They were sat there and they heard that the military was coming. And they tell me that since the military arrived from the area, that has been the routine. They are there and they hear that the military is coming, and everybody starts running to get shelter and protect themselves. So they were all running when this young gentleman, Abna Ajamai, unfortunately, the police started shouting that they should all stop because they were all holding sacks full of gold dust, they tell me. So they were all supposed to stop, but they didn't. And the military men, I'm told, the residents told me that they shot, and this man was unfortunately shot in the right side of his chest, and he died on the spot. So that is what they said. They tell me that they were all running, and nobody had any weapon on them to exchange fire with the military men. Because previously, even the security men of the AGA, they don't have weapons, but they come with clubs and sticks, and they all run away. So how come military men who are wielding weapons will come and they will decide to face them with, they will pelter stones at them and shoot at them. So it isn't true, as you tell.
What are the residents or the family of this deceased person intending to do about it?
Okay, so I spoke to the spokesperson and the elder brother of this deceased, Owusu Okwedi, his name, and he tells me that they believe in the police, and they've been told, they've been asked by the police to go and conduct autopsy and post-mortem and come with the autopsy report to aid the police to do further investigations to ascertain if really a gentleman was shot so that we know their next action. That's what they tell me.
All
and
right.
as of now, that is what they are going to do now.
All right. Thank you very much, Prince Appiah, bringing us that update from Ayimedu Krom, which is near Obuasi, where we're told that one person was killed by the Operation Vanguard Task Force. You're still watching the Joy News Prime here on Joy News on Multi TV. Still ahead, President Akufo-Addo promises to consider calls by residents of Denkyira Obuasi for a reinstatement of the DC who was suspended for comments he made in the wake of the lynching of Major Maxwell Mahama, described as insensitive. We're taking a break. We'll have more news coming your way. Stay tuned. President Nana Akufo-Addo has assured residents of Denkyira Obuasi the suspension of the district chief executive for the Upper Denkyira West will be investigated. This follows requests made by assembly members and residents of the town that suspended Daniel Appiah should be reinstated. Daniel Appiah was suspended by the president after comments he made following the lynching of Major Maxwell Adam Mahama. Deputy Central Region Minister Thomas Ejebafo has been acting as DC for the area since then. President Akufo-Addo gave the indication the issue will be looked into during a visit to the town Monday as part of his 5-day tour of the Western and Central regions.
Papa Yashishia and now Kwaso Benina say a free senior high school. Ba a choir about picture queer Juba. Choir Baba Ganis Casima Baby in Milano and that new Obuasi Mosamo Diano a cajo, the Tefanso a cajo. Me myself what me buy say me buy na magana for you who say they see ya no akama koma papa eya me ye say me breast bibi say betumi asi wo man me nanso Onyankopon ahyehye no de ye hu hwe anye yi amba besre say bibi say mama ye hu biom ewo ha ewo Ghana na. Let it be the last time we see such an event in our country. Ghana ajid din kese awa manone wo wiase nyina say ye di ehuni kana bin kabia mamu ya tiase papa ya to aba basabasa bia ma ya ntese binom ya tiase ekwan ya fa ye bu oman na koso tumi ba di kakrasi na no ba be say no baba se me ba ba jira mochi baba me mo ya ko ni ma mamu ati ase se Akufo-Addo aban new Obuase denchira new Obuase me ne mo ana eko
Right, so you heard President Akufo-Addo speaking at Denchira Obuase. We have Ohiming Teria, who is in the area. He's actually been at the Debo grounds, and he joins us on the line to tell us exactly what the president has been telling the people of the area. Hello, Ohiming. So we heard what the president had to say. Can you just recap for us what actually he had to tell the people of Denchira Obuase?
Thank you, Israel. I must say it was a mammoth rally in that order earlier than this. Obuasi has been a ghost town. Many of the residents have fled this community. So as a journalist who have covered the events beginning from the murder of the late Major Adam Mahama, I would say it was a large gathering. And it befits large gathering, and it befits the visit of the President, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, because the people were so expectant. They wanted to hear something from the President as far as their state and their security here is concerned. First, they wanted the president to say something because they think that almost everywhere in Ghana, the people have despised them. Wherever they go, people see them as wicked. They see them as callous. So they wanted to hear a definite pronouncement from President Akufo-Addo that will bring relief and also lift them from the bottom to the top. And today, the president made the day for the people. One, let me take you through the recap. The president did say that yes, the issue of instant justice should not be encouraged at all in our books. First, he mentioned the fact that the judiciary, the police, and then the lawyers are given the opportunity, are allowed to try people per our laws, the laws of this country. And secondly, he did indicate that nowhere in this country, in a civilized and modern community, that people should take the law into their own hands and attack people whom they suspect have committed wrongdoings. So the president chastised the people for doing this. Then he came to the assurances. That is what I think was the most important part of the president's address, that though Ghanaians have said so much about the people of Denchira Obuase, which now the chiefs and people have changed the name, he, as a president of the Republic of Ghana, will want to work with the people. And he assured the people that no matter how difficult, no matter how bad they are,
he, as a president of the Republic of Ghana, will want to welcome them and then bring them back to the country, into the nation, and ensure that they get their fair share of the national cake. And secondly, he also said that, yes, there has been a lot of issues going around before he even came to Denshaw Boase. He has been feeling so bad and felt so down and felt so depressed. But the moment he came to Denshaw Boase, listening to the address by the chief of Denshaw Boase, Nana Ncherie, he at that point was relieved and think that now he can work with the people of Denshaw Boase. And Israel, another thing that he mentioned is the fact that he wants the people to support him in order to fight illegal mining. For illegal mining, he thinks that is the best way that the country can go. And he also mentioned the fact that Free Senior High School has come to stay, and as the president of the Republic of Ghana, he will ensure that the Free Senior High School policy is implemented to the benefit of Ghanaians. And at the point when the president was ending his speech, people were so expectant of one way or the other on whether the DCE for the area, Mr. Daniel Apienin, who was suspended in June, will be reinstated. So they wanted to hear the president say something about this. The president didn't say this, and this is when the president kept quiet and was about to end his speech and ask for a minute silence for the departed soul of Major Maswalada Mahama. That is when the people shouted, DCE, DCE, DCE. And I must say, it was a mammoth call from the residents of Denshaw Boase, because they had expected the president to whether or not the DC will be reinstated. The DC earlier, before the president's speech, was welcomed to the Durban ground with cheers and clapping for all over. So the president did say that indeed the issue will be investigated and is being given attention in Israel.
All right. So we noticed that somewhere just about the area, at the time you're talking about, the president paused for a while, and then we had one gentleman walk up to him to, I think, tell him what the people were chanting about. Now, what has been the reaction of the residents of Denshaw Boase to what the president said, saying that they're going to be looking into it?
Israel, first I spoke to Ochame Kwabena Asare, the chief linguist for Denshaw Boase. He, since yesterday, has been so vocal and expressed his view on the fact that he will expect the president to speak about the DCE issue. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So after the president has ended his speech, I approached him and spoke to him, and he said yes, as a leader of the community, he had expected the president to say something about whether or not the DCE will be reinstated, because he felt that the absence of the DCE has affected development in this community and the other 67 communities in the upper Denshaw West district. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And he made me understand that the chiefs, even the chief of Denshaw Boase, before he spoke at the Deba, he was impressed upon not to mention the issue of the district chief executive, because according to the officials of the Regional Coordinating Council and other party bigwigs, they had been assured that the issue is being given attention, the needed and necessary attention. But the other residents in Denshaw Boase, they feel so bad for the president not to have said something or touch on the district chief executive issue, except to say that the issue is being investigated. For them, this is not a new. Right after the DCE was suspended, the information that trickled down was that he is being investigated, and the issue will be investigated, and then a conclusion will be drawn. So for them, they were a bit unhappy. There was some sort of mixed feelings from the people. So let me speak to some residents who are still here and find out from them what they make of this development. Within the say,
Pacha Efremi Roja.
Yo, Roja, Nana Baya no bed Medina say.
Me Pacha.
Nansa Nana Enyan Kasa no. Na manfo pi no e kase obenka bibi mfa DC no said na modika aka no. Nana Baya no wa meka say owura apie friends so men adwuma bio. Wo your babu no wo de ya na so obeka na wasamo na opese wo kana na wanka.
Sabile ya me no kase de nana ensem o kan de me ni ji bebre ho. Na emom DC na asem de me kase o kan na me boa. Na ade say DC no ombie na no mfa empem nka say o de adwuma na so ahye nsa de ɛno deɛ wanka wasɛm.
Okay, so Israel, this is Roger. He tells me, with all the things that the issues that are now discussed and raised at the function, he felt so satisfied, except one issue, and that's the fact that he issue as a youth of the nation was he expected the president to make a pronouncement that would have made the reinstatement of Honorable Daniel Apianin, a positive one and a concrete one. And one can DC once me, yeah, and today
said enya ban de we fa ne sa wanka wasem de na minim say emlipem no obetena se na odi asema ebeba de nchaman en anase apa de nchawe sie nyina yebo ato yema ade aba.
Okay, so Israel, he says there is nothing he can do at this point in time. What he can do at the moment is to wait upon Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to give them the positive reaction. And that positive reaction that they do expect is to see Daniel Apianin being reinstated back to his position. More person here. One more person here. Actually, and then Nana Addo buy Sana Wohobi. Again, Nana Addo kan ya eya de pa. Again, na okaya eya de na opesenka anade he na okaya anya de.
De Nana ba ne de yingina ani age se waba ekurudua yi mu. Na do kan ya ma mani gie ne se o se enam atoro nkyem a esiye no enhono omo a omudi sa atoro nkyem no asotwen ese de mom no ya de amom na omom kan no so de yingina ye ne man a oni ebebu oman no se ne efata
na mo pese o kan bibi fa DC no mo tiatia mo se DC asema o kan na to akoma so ho
no asem ne de ne etetem se DC but wan kan ho asem se wo de nadwuma hye ne sa na emom no de wogidie se de a wo de nadwuma no ebe hye ne nsa.
Okay, so this gentleman is so optimistic and so positive that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the President of the Republic of Ghana, will reinstate Honorable Daniel Apianin's position for him to continue the good work he has been doing for the districts. Israel, can we pick more reaction from the community?
That'll be all for from Dentro Boasewo. Thank you very much for bringing us that update and the reaction from the residents who clearly the one thing on their minds is the reinstatement of their DC, which the president has promised to look into. You're watching Joy News Prime here on Joy News on Multi TV. We're taking a break at this point. We'll be bringing you business news in a bit. Stay tuned.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Business on Joy News Prime. Government has been engaging the private sector on practical ways of meeting its macroeconomic targets by the end of the year. At the 2017 Ghana Economic Forum, Senior Minister Yaw Osafo Maafo says government is intensifying its strategy to make the private sector more competitive to ensure the creation of jobs. Here's more in this report.
The forum saw key business leaders, mostly from the banking sector, in discussions with government on the best ways of easing the cost of doing business in the country. Senior Minister Yaw Osafo Maafo was the guest speaker.
So the government situation today is far more difficult than it was in 2001. For 2001, the stroke of a pen was $6 billion we have written off our debt. So we are comfortable from that angle. The World Bank, therefore, cannot understand why Ghana should get into this situation now. When we were in Washington in April, and we were trying to get some special support, the president of the World Bank said, there's a new phenomenon in the developing world led by Ghana in what we call reversibility of the economy, or irreversibility of the economy. That we can grow to the level of 14% or 9.3% without oil. Without oil, your GDP is 9.3%. You have oil, then you come to 3.5. That creates a problem for people to understand. But we are there, and we should manage it being there. And one thing I'm sure, that the problem is solvable.
Joy Business caught up with the former Minister for Trade and Industry, Ecospio Gabra, who disagrees with government. He argues government's economic targets are bound to burden the economy with more debt.
You can't cut taxes without expecting your revenues to fall. So when they were removing taxes, which looked politically exciting because taxes are being removed, the bottom line is that you don't end up with the revenues you wanted because you have not created any additional revenue sources, and then you can't meet your expenditure expectations.
The Vice President
can't employ people.
As Vice President has stated that, moves are being put in place to ensure that deficit to GDP is reduced to about 3 to 5% come next year. Is it attainable?
No, anything is attainable if you want to cut things all over the place. And at what cost? You can attain any targets you want. Right now, the government is obviously attempting to the best of its ability to meet IMF imposed targets. So you want to bring the budget deficit within a certain range. You want to bring inflation down to a certain level, etc. But you do that at the cost of human beings, at the cost of, in some cases, prices that are being felt by the Ghanaian in the marketplace, contractors that are not getting paid, some public servants who have also not been paid for some time. The problem for this government is their over-promises. We shall do this, we can do this, we can do better than the other government. So people are going to say, wow, that sounds fantastic. Why don't we give them a chance? Then they come in for 6 months and they find that they are sweating.
The two-day event is under the theme, Building a Ghanaian-Owned Economy 60 Years After Independence.
Now to our top business story tonight. President Akufo-Addo has appointed Dr. Maxwell Opoku-Afari as the first deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana. The former division chief at the IMF assumed the role this morning and takes over from Millicent Nah, who has retired from the institution. Here's what we know about the new first deputy governor. Opoku-Afari, until his appointment, was the deputy division chief at the IMF, a position that he has held since September 2014. From December 2012 to August 2014, he served as a senior economist at the IMF, working with the Strategy, Policy and Review Department. He has been with the IMF for over 8 years. Before joining the IMF, he served as the special assistant to the then governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Paul Akwa, from 2006 to 2009. He also worked in several capacities at the bank, including head of special studies from 2005 to May 2006 and senior economist from 1996 to 2000. He was also an adjunct professor at the Regent University from 2005 to 2009. He holds a doctorate from the University of Nottingham. He had his high school education at Pope John Secondary and Junior Seminary. Joy Business understands that he would be responsible for HR, estate, projects, audits, currency, and management issues. All right, so that was a brief on the new first deputy governor of the central bank, Dr. Maxwell Opoku-Afari. Quite experienced, but is he cut out for the job? Let's get some perspective from banking analyst Nana Otuoye Champong, who joins us live. Thanks for your time, Nana. So what do you think of the pick by the president? Hello, Nana.
I think it's a good pick. It's one of the stable members of the stable of the Dr. Paul Akwa. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yes, I said it's okay. I said it's a good catch from the Paul Akwa stable of monetary economist. He comes with great experience, both from Bank of Ghana and from the IMF, where he has been for the past 8 years or so. At this stage of the Ghanaian economy, what we need is a strategy for growth, a strategy for stability, and for the past 8 years, what Dr. Maxwell Opoku-Afari has been doing at the IMF gives him credibility to perform that. And it's going to complement what the central bank governor, Dr. Ernest Addison, has been doing for the past couple of months.
Tell us more about what you think his role will be as first Deputy Governor of the Central Bank. What issues would he be expected to address?
Well, you'll be expected to address especially the growth issues. And for the growth issues, you need a strategist, a policy analyst, to ensure that the strategies in place, the policies in place, will complement that to bring the growth. Because presently, we are facing a difficulty with a big chunk of the youth unemployed. And if the economy doesn't expand, we will not be able to create jobs for the teeming youth. So the strategies that he will help to put in place, the policies that he will be able to analyze will complement what the governor has in place and assist the Minister of Finance in discharging the duties for the economy.
And what do you think is the legacy that Millicent Nah has left as he has bowed out from the institution?
Oh, he did his best. He was able to, again, as a deputy, you are always, second in place to what the governor has been able to achieve. So as a deputy for the last, I think, 8 to 10 years, he's been able to assist the 2 or 3 governors that he served under. I know, for instance, he's been in charge of the education side. He was a council member for the National Banking College, and he has helped to steer the affairs of the college. So he has built a legacy over the years that he's worked. And
all right, thanks very much.
The industry will remember him for that.
Thank you very much. That was a banking analyst, and I know Tue Champo. Apologies for the delays there. Now, we want to move on. The rollout of the pilot paperless system failed to begin today at the Tema Port as anticipated. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia last week, if you recall, announced the commencement of a pilot paperless system today ahead of the September 1 deadline. This forms part of a 3-phase policy reform to remove trade barriers and make Ghana's ports competitive. However, Joy Business understands there was a no-show today. Meanwhile, Dr. Eric Osei-Sibe is urging government not to cancel the contract of the 2 IT solution and technical operators of the single window platform at the Tema Port. He explains why.
If they abrogate it, it's rather going to have that kind of negative signal. But if you allow the status quo to go and overhaul it.
2 agencies operating.
Sorry. Yes, so now what they have to do, that is what I talk about overhauling. Making their roles clearly distinctive. Distinctively assigning roles so that we reduce the overlapping and waste of resources. It is very important that the minister sits with them, the ministry sits with them, and define clearly the role that will not make it overlapping, and that will also significantly not impede trade. Because where you have overlapping roles and duplication of effort, and you definitely will, exporters will have to go through, or importers will have to pay this and that, go to increase, our export competitiveness and also increase the cost of importing and all of that. So they have to really look at it. I don't think it should be of necessity cancelling it, but making sure that each one plays a specific role that is uniquely theirs and to complement one another in effort to facilitate trade at the borders.
And that's it for business. The news continues after this break.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Personnel who will take part in next year's national service will have to book the appointment online. The measure, according to the National Service Scheme, is to put a stop to chaotic registration scenes that characterize some centers in the country. Deputy Executive Director of the National Service Scheme, Dr. Gifty Oware Abuaje, speaking at a capacity building workshop for personnel of the service in WAM, said plans are far advanced to reduce crowding and chaotic scenes at registration centers. Joy News' Upper West Region correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
According to the National Service Secretariat, there have been several complaints from its stakeholders of the quality of personnel posted to them to do their national service. The complaints range from the personnel's attitude to work and the kind of lifestyle they live in the communities they are posted. In order to fill the gap, the National Service Scheme therefore held a capacity building workshop for newly posted personnel in the Upper West region. Out of the 91,000 personnel deployed in the country to start the program on September 1, 1,600 of them will be based in the Upper West region. Deputy Upper West Regional Minister Hamidu Issa Kuchini stated that youth empowerment and development is a major policy priority of the NPP government, and that explains why it has come out with several strategies to deal with the issue of youth unemployment.
In pursuant of this, our government is focusing on the following strategies. 1. Setting up a youth development authority to harmonize and coordinate all government-sponsored youth initiatives and policies. 2. Establishing a youth enterprises fund that will provide support for businesses, development services owned by young entrepreneurs, especially startups. And 3. Developing industrial parks in all regions, targeting young Ghanaians who wish to start small businesses to provide them with access to workspaces, equipment, and basic services, including electricity and water.
In order to put a stop to the chaotic scenes that were recorded in some centers during registration of the newly posted personnel, the Deputy Executive Director of the National Service Scheme, Dr. Gifty Oware Abuaji, stated that plans are far afoot to enable personnel to book their appointment online beginning next year.
From next year, they are not going to just walk into the place. They are going to have appointment online, just like the way we have appointment for the passports. So you go online, you book for your appointment. So the day which is stipulated on your appointment letter, that's when you are going to be at the venue. And this process is going to be smoother as per however it's been. We would love to have done everything on the, people have been speaking of the online registration and all that. But you see, unless you are able to biometrically verify, and which our national system is not yet there, it's difficult. So we can put a lot of our system online, so the physical verification just becomes the biometric.
The National Teaching Council has directed universities across the country to maintain fees charged for the 2015-2016 academic year provisionally. The directive, which was given on Monday afternoon, is to prevent disruption of the academic calendar whilst Parliament decides on a solution. Students of the University of Ghana and other institutions have petitioned Parliament to deal with the matter, whilst the University Students Association of Ghana directed its members not to pay. Speaking on the pulse with Gifty Andopia, Executive Director of the Vice Chancellor's Ghana, Peter Kaba, said universities will comply with the NTC's directive.
The NCT has just in a letter given to us today asked the universities that in view of the fact that the Parliament is in recess, it might also even take a while for Parliament to duly consider, and that might affect the reopening of tertiary institutions and for the 2017-2018 academic year. He was advising that the universities should use the 2016-2017 fee levels temporarily as provisional fees, while Parliament took a decision on the 2017-2018 fee schedules.
Is that something that the Vice Chancellors are willing to consider?
Yes, the Vice Chancellors have considered it already, because that is a directive from our regulation body, and we have no alternative. Even though we have published the fees the new fees for 2017-2018, with this new directive, I mean, we have considered using the 2016-2017 academic year fees. There wouldn't be any effect on the academic calendar.
As of now.
All students who are going to be admitted will be given the fees as per the 2016-2017 academic year.
Okay.
And those who have already received their letters for the fees for 2017-2018 may be given opportunity to pay for 2016-2017.
Meanwhile, the University Students Association of Ghana has welcomed the directive, hoping for a possible refund should Parliament decide that the fees for the previous academic year be slashed. Here is President of USAI, Emmanuel Kwarteng Frimpong.
Yeah, sure. I think it's quite refreshing because we were actually protecting against the increment that there was too huge. Okay. So in the event that the NCT has actually come inside to say that they should go by last year's fees, I think it's quite refreshing.
That's okay for you, whilst you wait and then see what happens with
yes, exactly. So it will only mean that if Parliament actually sees the need that there should be a reduction even in last year's fees, there has to be a refund.
The Ghana Highway authorities began exploring ways to fix the Salaga-Pandai road that has been cut off following severe flooding at Salaga in the East Gonja district of the northern region. 4 persons were injured and over 1,000 residents displaced following the heavy downpour. Ashwin Mohammed's report.
More than 1,000 residents have been reportedly displaced, according to officials of NADMO in the district. Houses, roads and farmlands were all submerged in flood waters. 4 people were also sent to the Salaga hospital when a building collapsed on them. They have since been treated and discharged from the hospital. The Salaga-Pandai road was also cut off in the flood. However, the Northern Regional Area Manager of the Ghana Highway Authority, Edu Prosper, who visited the scene Monday morning with his team, says the authority will immediately begin work on the road once the water level goes down.
So the way I've seen it is not a big deal. What we'll do is, by tomorrow morning, we'll bring boulders as a temporary measure to fill in so that the vehicles can be moving. Then when the rain subsides, we'll put bus coverage here for a permanent solution.
NADMO District Coordinator for East Gonja, Haji Omar, says support to the flood victims can only come true after a thorough assessment of the situation. Member of Parliament for Salaga North, Adam Saliba, tells Joy News the extent of devastation is severe and government must immediately intercede to support the displaced persons. For Joy News, Hashmin Mohammed from Salaga.
Yes, we know that some drugs that were not permitted came into Ghana and are currently on the market, but we are sorry it is not entirely our fault. That was the response given by officials of the Food and Drugs Authorities. Parliament's Public Accounts Committee grilled the acting chief executive, Officer Mimi Dakun, and the head of Imports and Exports Control Department, Solomon Agampin. The two, together with the chief director at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Afisa Zakaria, appeared before PAC to answer questions on why the FDA failed to ensure quality and safety of drugs in Ghana as contained in the 2015 Auditor General's report. Here I accept.
Times when we actually re-export, we ask for certain drugs to be re-exported. I think you would have heard it before. There are times when we actually have to destroy certain medicines. We've done it before. There are certain drugs that are imported into the country where we've destroyed certain medicines because they were unregistered medicines and we thought they should not be on the market.
Answering a question posed by Mpohowasa MP Alexa Jekum on why some of the drugs got onto the market although they had been impounded, Mrs. Mimi Dakun explained the FDA does not have warehouse to keep seized drugs.
First of all, there's no space at the port to keep detained medicines. These medicines were medicines that were detained in the client's warehouse. First of all, they are registered medicines, but they were imported when they had not been re-registered. So we detained them at the client's warehouse because there's nowhere else to detain them. FDA does not have the facilities to detain medicines ourselves. We don't have the space. Under normal circumstances, that would have been the ideal. That is what we are now trying to make provision for in a new facility that we are building, so we can keep them ourselves under lock and key.
She assures the FDA will collaborate better with other agencies and also rely on the paperless system soon to be implemented at the port to make the authorities' work more effective.
The measures that we have tried to put in place at the moment are adequate within the constraints that we have. I can only describe the measures within the constraints that we have. So we have put measures at the port. We have put measures by putting port offices. So we have offices at the port. We have offices at KIA and at the Tema port. We have offices at the Flower border, but there are other borders within the Volta region. We have offices in Sunyani, but there are other borders. We have an office in Olga, but there are also other borders that we do not have staff there all the time.
Some of the members of the Public Accounts Committee have been expressing disappointment in some of the responses given by the acting FDA boss. They say the unlicensed drugs which found their way onto the market could have posed dire consequences to consumers.
We realize that even the Givitafort injection, the stock as at the time that they detained was about 870. And the next time they went to check that detained drugs, almost all of them had gone into the system. Zero was there. So it's like the mechanism to check this. How do you do this? Because these things have found themselves into the market, and only God knows people who have died as a result of perhaps.
MP for Kumbungu constituency in the Northern Region, Ras Mubarak, says government should reconsider its decision to cut down budgetary allocations to the various MDAs, including the Food and Drugs Authority. Speaking after the grilling of the FDA boss by the Public Accounts Committee, of which he is a member, Ras Mubarak said the FDA struggled with its operations even when the authority retained 50% of its IGF, and so has no doubt the cut will adversely impact on its operations. He spoke with Joy News' Latif Idris.
The concerns that many Guineans do have is the safety of medicines on the markets. And if we are hearing that some of our border posts are a bit porous, which means that fake medicines are coming in, that becomes very worrying for the consuming public. So I do hope that they will do a lot. But I also think that the cuts in spending or expenditure for some of the MDAs clearly would affect the FDA, because if they were retaining 50% of their IGF, and in spite of that, they still have the enormous challenges that they are facing, a reduction in how much they get to retain would go a long way to affecting them. And so we would urge the Ministry of Finance to take a second look at some of the cuts in public services, which would definitely go a long way to hurt public institutions like the FDA. Going forward, they would have to be able to name companies who are seen to have violated, sections of the act that established the FDA, because you want to engender confidence in the general public, and people would want to see exactly who are these people who are violating the regulations. And I think one of the key things that came out of this is the deterrent in the amount people pay when they do violate the law. And I think
the New Patriotic Party says last week's deportation of its former national chairman by the Kenyan authorities raises questions about the transparency of Tuesday's poll in that country. Peter McMenu, who was at the head of the Democratic Union of Observer Africa delegation, was denied entry into the country. He is now back in Ghana. And the acting general secretary of the NPP, John Boadu, has told Joy News the party will investigate the circumstances under which he was deported. But National Nasra coordinator of the party, Kamal Dean Abdullahi, says the deportation of the NPP's 2016 campaign manager is worrisome.
This country safely on Saturday. I spoke with him yesterday. He was fine. Nothing really happened. But you see, I think when we told this trend or this trajectory, we will end up soiling the name of Africa in terms of our democratic development. We all say that, look, let's allow multi-party democracy to take place. Let's allow people to express their views on who to govern us, on what kind of policies that we want to see. That is why I believe most political parties in most of the sovereign countries I've mentioned will come out with their manifestos spelling out what they'll be doing for the people of those country, of that country or not. And I believe that campaigning has gone on. I believe that the ruling party today in Kenya also have been campaigning. Opposition parties have also been campaigning. Of course, all of them might have rolled out their plans for the country. Is that not right? Now, if we have all this, then we then have maybe some perceived twisting of arms, okay, in an impending election, to the extent that observers coming into this country, to the country, who have no role to play, just to come and observe. You all know how our election is observed. You just come, look at it, give a report, say whether or not it was free and fair and all that. I mean, this is what is supposed to happen. But nonetheless, some leaders on our continent have decided that, look, let us have our way by hook or crook. And I think it's not so good for us.
Tubare Kola was only 3 months old when his mother was driven out of her second marriage. When her husband died, she married her late husband's brother as custom demanded. But there was a part of the Brifo custom that forbade her from first giving birth to a boy in a second marriage in that family. Today, that boy has braved the odds and completed senior high school with 6 A's. However, his dream of going to the university is fading because there is no one to help him. Manasseh Azura, when he traveled to Bihe, a village near Wa in the Upper West Region, to meet Tubare, and our reports.
It is a Friday afternoon, and the assemblyman for the Bihe community is leading me to where Tubare lives with his mother, an old woman in her 70s. We met Tubare's mother, Hawa Kola, preparing the day's meal with cassava leaves. This is a deprived village, but where Tubare and his mother live is even more deprived. Tubare sleeps on an uncemented floor with a mat, and there is no window or door to this room.
The house was built through a communal labor. During the dry season, we just gathered together and then help each other to build the houses. But the roofing was done by using aluminium zinc, and that we worked in the farm and then we were able to roof it. But the plastering was done using the local method.
And what is this local method?
They mix a fine sand together with the cow dung, and then some herbs that they use, so that it will be able to stick to the wall.
The young man with an unusually calm demeanor seems used to this hardship. The assemblyman for Bihe, Isaac Hamidu, who serves as an interpreter in my interview with Tubare's mother, tells me the boy's predicament started at birth.
It's a taboo to give birth to a baby boy after marrying a widow, the first child. So when the woman married the second husband and gave birth to a baby boy, the family said it's a bad omen. So the sisters of the husband asked the woman to go with your Tubare, that's push away child. So they pushed the woman and her child away, Tubare, meaning push away. That is why she got up and came to this community with the baby boy to come and settle and look for help.
And how old was this boy?
The boy was only 3 months old when the family asked her to live with the baby.
Is that how the boy got his name?
That is how they got the name, Tubare, push away.
Tubare's father died 3 years after he and his mother left Babli to settle in Bihe, and no family member has ever helped him. Tubare attended primary and junior high school in Bihe before he gained admission to Nandom Senior High School, where he read science. He and his mother farmed to feed themselves and used the extra proceeds to take care of his education. He also worked as a farm laborer for people in the village without charging them any fees.
The people that I help, they've been so good to me. They also help me. So when at times when they are harvesting food, they will bring food to my mother so that we also enjoy some. So I just take the time out to also help them. But anything that they give me, I appreciate it.
Tubare tells me life was extremely difficult and he was often asked to go home because his fees were always in arrears. Despite the odds, Tubare completed the Nandom Senior High School, scoring A1 in 6 out of the 8 subjects he wrote. He has applied to the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology and the University of Mines and Technology in Takwa. UMAT has offered him admission and is likely to get admission to the KNUST as well. but he cannot go to school unless benevolent individuals help him.
When we compiled everything, it was almost 5,000 Ghana cedis. I'm appealing to the one who will be able to, help me to pay my school fees so that I will be able to go to a tertiary level.
When you completed, what have you been doing?
Yeah, since we completed, we have been involved in a liberal work, working as a labor at the building construction worksite. But nowadays, it has terminated.
Barry has been rejected, but he has not given up. For now, the only obstacle between the dejected young man in this village and the engineer he dreams of becoming is the money to fund his education. And he hopes someone will give his story a sympathetic ear and extend a generous hand of support. For Joy News, Manasseh Azore Arena reporting from Bihe in the Upper West region.
This is Joy News Prime.